the lawyer nailed him is to accuse correctly some kind of misbehavior. Something you did wrong. So you nail somebody when they're guilty. And then you said blow it, right? So I blew it. Yeah, you know that one, right? That's the opposite. I failed. Right? There's another expression you can use when you want to give somebody encouragement when they're going to do a presentation. It's used more frequently in the theater if you're going to do a performance, like a play or something like that. And you can tell them, I put do you know this expression?
Yes.
Yeah? Break a leg?
Try very hard.
It basically means good luck. There's a superstition in the theater that if you tell somebody good luck, it actually gives them bad luck. So that's why they say a bad thing. They say break a leg. So that's an indirect way of saying good luck without saying it, because you don't want to jinx them. Do you know jinx? Do you know this word? To jinx somebody is to like put a curse on them or something. So if I say good luck, then it's like I'm setting you up for failure. If I tell you good luck, I'm going to jinx you, and you will have the opposite reaction. You'll have a problem.
Because I found that word nail
Uh-huh.
in some movies, American movies.
Uh-huh.
And it's like a rest.
Well, it's not exactly arrest. Maybe the person gets arrested because they got nailed. When you get nailed, you get caught. You get caught doing the wrong thing. And then the next step is, or you go to jail, or you get arrested, or you have to go to court, or you get punished in some way. But that's the next step. Okay. Well, so today what we want to do is we want to talk about the CLAs, and we want to talk about the discussion questions that I have, the reviews. Actually, we're not going to talk about Chapter 10 because, yes, because I haven't decided how to reduce the reading yet. So I was looking at it yesterday and trying to decide what I can cut, but I was having a very difficult time making a decision because I want to cut some from 10 and 11, but I need to make sure that you read the parts that are involved in the discussion questions and the other, there's a PA that asks a question about one of the concepts. So
the PA is in chapter 10. Yeah, it's about the
the U-shape, is that chapter 10? Okay, yeah. But I want to reduce both chapters, so I'm looking at both of them, so I'm not ready to talk about that one yet. 9, I told you you could skip, right? 9, I said don't worry about it, you can skip that one. So 10 and 11 is what I'm talking about for next week, for week 5.
Skip 9, 10, 11.
I did, I don't remember that.
Nice try.
Yeah, nice try. Okay, so what do you want to do first? Do you want to do the discussion questions that I have for you that are kind of a review of what we've talked to up till now? Or do you want to talk about the CLAs? Or do you want to do your presentations? Do you want to get them over it? Sometimes I feel like you're a little bit distracted, right? So because you're kind of worried, you think, oh, I have to do my presentation, so you can only think about that. What do you think?
So you will do a presentation today, right?
Yeah?
Okay. So,
So
what are you
It's not. No, we're missing 2 people, right? Just 2 people, yeah? But they're here,
Like,
yeah? But they're here somewhere. Well, what do you think it would be the least problem if they miss? The presentation, the review questions, or the discussion about CLA?
let the star today decide.
Okay.
What?
You two decide. You guys get to decide. What are we going to do first?
you want to present now?
Okay, it's up to you actually.
No, they already asked you. It's up to you guys. You want to present? Let's do it. Sound good? Are you ready? Maybe.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, fluid.
Uh-huh.
It's a synonym of I fail on the end.
Oh, it's a synonym. It means I failed. I'm sorry, that's not very clear, is it? It means I failed. It's the opposite of I nailed it. Yeah, so here's where it's the opposite. Good question.
And what about like,
Yeah.
I am one of the audience and I want to encourage them and say, knock us.
Yes.
It's okay, I change.
Knock
us.
Oh, knock us dead?
No?
Well, the thing with idioms is that they're fixed, right? So very rarely can you change part of it. It's a set sequence. And you would never say them. You wouldn't say knock them dead. You would always say, knock them dead. Yeah.
I'm gonna change.
You can't say knock us dead because people will say, okay. They'll understand, but it will sound strange.
Yeah, that's a problem with non-native speakers learning idioms.
How would you know, right? How would you know you can't change it? Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so.
Oh, so you need the
What needs to be the
presentation.
presentation?
So let me see what I want to do. Let me close my things and then I'll open it again.
Thì lên trước này thì sao thì trước
And then do
thì
Okay, that's right.
okay.
Whatever.
Whatever, whoever.
Review. Cái này
Yes, you should buy two.
just one.
I've got 3. I've got 3 that works. And I need your rubric.
Very good.
Should I give feedback
No.
first from yesterday or should I do it after when everyone's here? First? Yes? Okay. So let me do the feedback first.
Baby's presentation.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with the one that you did about the
That's all you did.
animals. Okay?
That's all you did.
Yeah, can you please, alright, send it on and I will make an review.
Let's let them get organized. While she's doing that, I have a question for you. Okay, can I erase this? Sure. Get it? So yesterday we were talking about cognates a little bit. Yeah, and How do you say bread in Vietnamese?
Bánh mì. Bánh mì.
So, and how do you spell it? B-A-M?
B-A-N-H.
Okay.
And then me. M-I.
Okay. And is that right?
Am I?
Am I or am I?
I
How do you say bread in French?
Baguette. No.
Baguette is the kind. It's the long, right?
Good as well.
That's the bakery.
Can you get the initial, please? No, not pate.
I say we put on the bread.
Pain. Pain.
But you say le pain.
Le pain.
The pronunciation is like this. Pain. Pain. Don't you think that sounds kind of similar? Don't look at this part. No? You don't hear it?
Bánh.
Oh, look. They're both bilabials, right? This is a nasalized A, isn't it? Right? Doesn't this sound the same as that? I was able to figure out the word for bread in Vietnamese by reading a sign. I saw a sign and I saw a bakery and I saw it twice and they were selling bread and I was like, I'm going to ask them tomorrow. So for me, it seems like a cognate. I was able to recognize it. So yesterday we talked a little bit about perception. We talked about the perceived difficulty, right? And so what really matters is the perception. If the student can make a connection with the words, that's what counts, right? We don't know historically, linguistically, if they come from the same root, and you'd have to be a linguist to know the evolution of the languages. But I believe that there's some kind of a connection. It's probably some influence from French, I would think. Maybe not. But anyway, in my head, I will probably remember the word for bread in Vietnamese. I know nothing in Vietnamese, but I know one word. Yesterday we were talking about vocabulary teaching strategies, right? So there's a strategy called, do you know this? Yeah, actually the M is silent. Do you know it?
I like it so much.
It's a cool word, isn't it? Yeah.
And I use it really often.
Do you? So the word is mnemonics, right? Mnemonics. You don't say the M. How do you use it? Can you explain first of all what it is?
Like I use the rule even in Vietnamese, L1 like ông Sao sửa xe SH, right? To tell the student, to show the student how when to put the ES to the noun or the verbs. Ông means end with the O, so we put the ES. Sao, the S here, so we put the ES like bus, buses. Sửa, something like that.
Okay.
It sounds Vietnamese, and it is a mnemonic.
So a mnemonic technique is a verbal association. You make some kind of a sound association that helps you to remember things. Do you remember yesterday we were talking about having an anchor? And we said that graphic organizers are very nice because you have a visual anchor in your mind. So that helps you to retrieve the information from your brain. Well, a mnemonic is the same kind of technique, but it's an auditory anchor. So you have a sound association that you make that you can remember. So yesterday when I told you funk, what was funk?
Meaning and pronunciation.
Easy to remember, right? So this is a mnemonic. So you can remember that word, that sound, and that helps you to remember the 4 words that we're talking about in what it means to know a word, right? So mnemonic is also a helpful technique for teaching vocabulary or for remembering.
Do you have some other mnemonics?
Yeah. Do you know this one?
This is the order of adjectives.
No, but I have another one for the order of adjectives.
This guy is a
voice.
It's a noun, right?
No.
It's
Initials.
It's a mnemonic, they're initials.
coordination, conjunction.
But or yet, right?
What is it?
Coordinating conjunction.
Conjunction.
Conjunctions, right? So this one is what?
For
For,
and
and, oops,
nor
nor,
But,
but,
or,
or,
yet.
yeah.
yet, and
So.
so. These are all the coordinating conjunctions in English, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And what about, Osasco? That's the order of adjectives, right? So the first one is,
Origin.
I think it's opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think origin
Oh,
is
yeah.
this one. Yeah.
Opinion.
Opinion.
It's very subjective object.
Size.
Yes, it's a beautiful, right? Size. Okay, I hope I remember these. I haven't practiced in a long time. Age,
Shape.
shape,
Color.
and origin, right?
Also style, material, and
Oh yeah, so you can continue, you can go ma, na, pa. Ma is material,
Natural nature.
na, I can't remember what that is. Nationality, yeah? It is similar to origin, I don't know. This one I'm not sure. And pa, do you remember?
No.
Oh, I think it's,
Purpose.
yeah. Right, like you have a tea kettle, right? Yeah. This is a good one, right? That's helpful. This is hard to remember.
Do you have the one for nine hours?
For parts of speech, the 9 parts of speech.
Yeah.
No, do you?
I have it in Vietnamese.
Oh.
What are they? No, I have it.
And do you know this one?
Ah, the color rainbows.
The colors in the rainbow. Yeah. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue,
Indigo.
indigo,
Violet.
violet. Yeah. You know what's really funny? In India, they do it in this order.
India?
Isn't that funny? Some things are cultural, right? They learn it in the opposite direction, and this is their mnemonic in India. For them, for some reason, they start at the opposite end of the spectrum. Interesting, right? Yeah. It's funny how some of these things are cultural, right? I remember when I was in Brazil once, I was teaching a very, very beginner level student, very beginner. He didn't read very well even in Portuguese. He didn't have much schooling. And I was trying to teach him about the seasons. And I had so much difficulty. I'm like fall, winter, spring, summer, you know, the flowers, the leaves. And he didn't understand. Finally, like after half an hour, he was able to make me understand that in Brazil, they don't have seasons. They've got wet and dry, right? Yeah, kind of like here. You don't have like a true spring or anything, right? It's always warm, isn't it? Right? You don't really have a winter. And so I thought, oh my God, I'm so stupid, you know? But it's a cultural thing. I never assumed that that in another location they didn't know the seasons. All right, so let's do our feedback then from yesterday. Okay, So, with your presentation about the animals, what did I say? At the beginning when you were, I think you started with flashcards or pictures, I can't remember, to very first start with the pictures of the animals. It was really nice how you showed the picture and you gave the students an opportunity to come up with the answer instead of just giving it to them. Instead of just saying, this is a cow, this is a chicken, right? So you show the picture. This is a technique that you mentioned the other day. What's the technique? When you don't give the information to the student, you ask for it. Do you know this technique? This is very important. What? Difference? What else? What? Yes, you're activating their background knowledge, yeah. Elicit, yeah. You activate their background knowledge by eliciting, right? To elicit is to ask, right? So you're asking somebody, and this is very important. This is a really important technique because this changes the whole teaching paradigm, right? Because in traditional methods, we have the typical lecture method, where the professor is the one who knows everything and students know nothing, and so therefore I must impart my intelligence upon you and you're an empty vessel that I can fill with information, right? Well, we've really changed how we look at learning and students, and nowadays we see everybody as having a valuable background and knowledge and experiences, and many, many experiences and types of knowledge that I don't have, right? You've been to places I haven't been, you've met people I haven't met, you've read things I haven't read, you know languages I don't know. So you have valuable information to contribute to the conversation. The teacher is only a facilitator. The teacher is there to help, right? So where, with the like I+1, or zone of proximal development, the professor is that one with a little more knowledge that's able to help to bring the students along, right? So I want to tap into your previous knowledge so that you can make a connection from the known to the unknown, right? So we're going to help you to move from what you already know to a new concept, right? But if I can make a connection to what you already know, it makes it so much easier. It's more interesting because you're actively engaged. Yesterday when we were talking about vocabulary retention, I was saying that the student is more likely to remember the word if they have to invest some work in it. If they have to look it up in the dictionary, if they have to do something, it's more likely that they will remember than if I just give them the definition. Right? So you make them think for a minute. So eliciting is a really important technique. There's some really interesting research that shows that new teachers are very uncomfortable with what we call wait time. What's that?
The time that the teacher have to stand and wait for the students to transfer the information that the teacher has taught to them.
Exactly. So I ask you a question, and I'm waiting for an answer. And new teachers in general feel insecure with silence. They want to fill up the silence, so they'll give the answer to the students. More experienced teachers feel more comfortable giving students time to think. Time is important. Remember I said that the other day, that the more time you have to prepare when you're going to do a speaking activity or a writing activity, the better a product you will have. Well, of course, because you have time to organize your thoughts, you have time to think about the vocabulary, to think about the structure that you want to use. So sometimes people they might elicit by asking the question, but they don't wait long enough for the student to give the answer. So those are two really, really important components that I really like to see. That's very nice. And then, let's see. So one confusion I had, I think the second step was then you had the mind map on the board. And so after you got the names of the animals, then you had the game where the students had to go up and touch the word, right? But you're working with 5-year-old children, right? 5 and 6. So how do they know the spelling right away?
Right. So, yeah, you should do that after
The one where you sit on the ground and do that? And even that one, how can they recognize? How can they know which word is the picture to match?
because my idea is when I show them the picture, they'll need to write the words on the board also.
Oh.
So, okay, this is the count, and write the count,
Okay.
and work out together with them as well. This is the count and then repeat.
Okay, all right. It might be nice if they had something to refer to. Is this the first time they see the information, or have they seen it before?
They would know about the problem I teach this.
Okay, so if this is the first lesson, I think it would be nice if you, when you elicit and you show the picture, maybe you can put the picture on the board and then write the word next to it. So then they have that visual reference when they need to play the other games. They can check, right? So not only the teacher can be the person to help with the zone of proximal development, but materials also serve that purpose. So peripheral learning is really important. Posters we put on the wall, different kind of information that students can refer to. Because in the modern teaching method, where the teacher is no longer the center of attention, we want to take away that sense of power from the teacher and help to empower students to find information on their own. We want to help to create lifelong learners, people who are interested in learning. Like we were saying the other day, you're never too old to learn another language. It's very important to do that to keep your mind active so that you stay mentally healthy. So we want to empower people to know how to find information for themselves. How do you use a dictionary? How do you look up words? How do you use IPA symbols so that you can see the pronunciation yourself when you don't have a teacher there with you? Right? So I would give them some kind of support if it's the first time. So it was good, I thought, how you asked them to repeat the word after they turned over the picture, so you gave them an opportunity to practice with it. So you said it, they found the picture, and then you asked them to repeat it. And then also with the phrase, if you like, if you don't like, where they had to change chairs, how do they know that expression? Okay, they know that, they've seen it before. Okay, so if they've seen it before, fine. If not, it needs to be taught, right? If it's the first time, yeah, sure. The change chair activities, the instructions were complicated, right?
Because just remind the children at school they play it all the time.
Yeah. So you say it, and they know what to do right away. Yeah.
We're new students.
What's that?
I mean, we're new
students. We didn't know the rules of the game. Right, exactly. So instructions are really, really important, right? Instructions are a super important tool that teachers have. If they're too long, people don't understand or they don't pay attention. If they're not clear, you spend too much time explaining, and we want to get to the content. We have to teach 35 vocabulary words in a lesson. We don't have time to spend 10 minutes doing directions, right? So that's a really important skill, is being able to give directions really clearly. What can we do to ensure that students understand directions? What are some techniques we can use to make sure they got it?
Trial.
Ask questions, right? So I give them the instructions and then I say, okay, so what do we do first? And what do we do after that? And who's responsible for this, right? What else? Model. Have two students come up to the front. Okay, we're going to do a pair work. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to be the shopkeeper. You're going to be the lady buying groceries. You've got 20 bucks, right? And have them do it. So give an example. What else?
Right, I just mentioned
That's what you were gonna
the
say.
name of the trial.
Same thing, yeah. So let's give it a test drive, right? And see how it works. Anything else?
Write the steps on the board.
Yes, of course, that's really important. Write the steps on the board. If it doesn't take you too long to write it out, but then they can refer to it. So because if you put them in groups and they're doing an activity, and then they're already in their groups and then they don't understand, to get everybody's attention again and say, wait, stop, turn around, look at me, oh, stop, and then you have to go and write, it's terrible. But if they can just look up at the board, right, if there's some disagreement in the group, no, teacher said that's step 3, right? Yeah, very good. Any other ideas? So that's a skill, right? It's a skill, it takes some practice, it needs work. And this setup is not very conducive to group work, right? With the chairs like this, it's very hard. So, you know, you have physical constraints to doing some things, to doing some kinds of activities. So there's not a lot of space here to move the chairs around, right? So you were good at adapting and say, okay, so let's just sit on the floor, because that's probably what you would do with the little kids anyway, right? But we have to learn how to deal with the situation that we're in, and sometimes furniture can impede some of the activities that we want to do, right? Yeah, impede, get in the way, right? I thought you had a really nice variety of tactile and auditory activities for young learners. They really like that, right? So they could listen and repeat, they could touch the word, they could match. So it's nice when they have activities where they get up and move around and touch and hear things. Oh, and the Old MacDonald, so they heard the song. Another question. How would they know be able to read the sounds the animal makes?
Just like indicating the Vietnamese, the sound of animals making makes is kind of the same. So just because after they listen to the songs, because the song we have the sound also, so we help them with that.
Okay. I think that they might have difficulty with the spelling and matching the spelling to the animal. And then, what?
I still don't know. The Winnie comes.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
It was difficult for us to do it.
yes,
Right.
but I will read the sound for them.
Okay. And can they write? So can they write something that so they can understand the sound? Like Winnie Winnie, could they write it in Vietnamese or something? Like some approximation, phonetic stuff?
It's just like Vietnamese sound.
It's the same. So maybe they need some kind of support. And then also, there's a couple of new animals in here, like sheep. Did you have sheep in your flashcards? You did? Oh, okay. And it was on the board?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not an Old MacDonald, right? So
Yeah.
we just want to be careful that we don't introduce new vocabulary later. So you're starting with a certain set vocabulary. You want to make sure you don't throw in any surprises that are not fair. It's okay if we're trying to build slowly. So in the first step, we give 10 words, and the next step, we add a few more and give 15. Like the other day, the activity with the prepositions, right? With the on foot, right? Those kinds of things. So you can keep adding to it, right? You don't want to give all of them on the first go. It's too much. And then I thought it was really nice how you gave a nice sampling of each activity. So you said, first I would do this, and then you let us play really quick, just to see how it would work. And then next I would do this, and we played it really quick. So it's nice to, like I said, I don't want it to be just an explanation of how you would do it. So it was nice that you did a little bit of each one, so we could get a real good feel of how the whole lesson would go. That being said, originally what I had asked for was just one 15-minute vocabulary lesson. For some reason, all of you guys have decided to do an hour and a half to 3-hour lesson and say, this is what I would do in 3 hours, okay, this is the one activity. You don't have to do it that way. It's your choice. If you want to, fine, okay? But you don't need to. You could just choose one 15-minute vocabulary activity and do that with us. And remember, we're the students and we're going to participate. So, as I said, there was some flexibility. It's your choice in how you want to do it, okay? But it was nice to get a little taste of each thing. And the only other thing I would say is you know, everybody has different personality and different style, but you're kind of soft-spoken, so it might be kind of hard for the students to hear. Do you have that experience in class?
Of course, but I try to, with the kid, like that, I try to soften the sound.
Oh, that's nice. That's actually a good strategy, right? Because with children, I think they respond very well to that. They really respond to somebody who's sweet and caring and friendly. Sometimes they make a lot of noise, right? And so our intuition is to speak louder. So it just escalates. So they get louder and we have to get louder than them. So we can do the opposite strategy, which is really smart. It keeps the noise down. So if you speak quietly, they have to be quiet to listen. Right? So you kind of have to train them to do that, right? So if you speak quiet, when they know that you can speak quiet, or you can use some kind of hand signals, right? When you're teaching, so it's like the teacher's turn, right?
Again, just don't say anything. They just look at you.
Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they'll just keep going and they're glad you're quiet, right? It depends. I think, personally, I think that classroom management is really difficult. It's something I struggle with. It's hard. So if you have a group that is, mainly my difficulty is with people that don't pay attention. If they're chatting or they're on their cell phones or something, then yeah, I know, I'm so glad you're shocked because, oh, I have some students, I'll tell you, they drive me nuts. Yeah, so it's, I have always found it very difficult to be really assertive with adults. If I have an adult, like somebody 40 years old who's not paying attention and fooling around on their phone, I feel kind of uncomfortable, you know, like, excuse me, sir, please, could you put your phone away? It seems like it should be common sense and it seems so rude, but I don't know, I guess it needs to be done, right? So classroom management is, it's a skill, right? Just like giving instructions, just like eliciting. So that's a technique that you can use. And being quiet, it depends on how well you have the group trained.
Just staring at it quietly. Just
Yeah.
staring, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Children can
And-
understand.
What's that?
For the children, you throw something in them.
Oh, yeah, throw an eraser at them.
I did many kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
I borrow a cell phone, said it's beautiful, and see it,
Ah.
keep it and give it in my
Oh, that's
class.
nice. Great. I'm going to send some text messages.
Yeah.
You're not necessary to hit them. You can just like throw them like to the side. You know?
Uh-huh, just to get their attention. Yeah. And staring at them usually works if it's one like pair of people talking, right? So, you know, you guys are chatting and I kind of look at you, you can feel, right? And so usually they stop. If they don't, you move a little closer, right?
If they don't, you hug them.
If you don't, you hug them.
Don't close
Yeah. So everybody has their own style and their own personality in the classroom, but it's good to know how to work with different age groups and how to work with your personality. So if you're soft-spoken, that's a good strategy because you don't want to try and be loud. It's not your personality. You're not going to do it, right?
Actually, I will.
Do you?
I will very like soft. I mean, sometimes I will be soft, and sometimes it's quite strict.
Okay,
So-
okay, good.
No, no.
It's always nice when we have a variety of tools we can draw from, right? And then, which one is this?
It's long.
It's the longest
I don't think it's my feet.
Is that yours?
So,
It's all the-
Oh, how much?
I roll up.
I read a lot. Oh, okay.
You wrote a lot over there, not the professor wrote.
Yeah, I took note. I took note.
You took notes on yours, right? You
Yeah,
remember.
on my paper.
Okay, one sec. There it is. Yes, there it is. Okay. So, I put great sequence of activities. I really liked the logical progression, how it developed step by step. It got more and more difficult. You really expanded upon the vocabulary on how they could use it. I thought you gave very clear explanations to us on how you would do the parts that you didn't demonstrate. I could really visualize how it would occur in class. So that was nice. We didn't need to do a sample because I could understand very clearly. So I thought you made like a good choice in terms of which ones to demonstrate and which ones to explain. I think you have a nice use of humor. You have a good sense of humor, like you make jokes, you make jokes with the students, so you make it lively, you make it fun, you make it interesting. Yeah. So I think that you have, what did you say?
So soon to go home.
Yeah.
First day was a joke.
Yeah, but it's fun, it's nice, right? So they feel like chatting with you. I think it encourages them to participate and to communicate and to use the language. And humor is so difficult to understand in another language, right? So just like pronunciation, it's nice to expose them from the very beginning. So especially sarcasm and irony, right? So you don't know if the person is serious or if they're joking. So I think that's very nice, I like it. So I can really see your personality, and you seem like you have a really nice, strong presence in the classroom. Like you speak loud, your delivery is really clear. You have a good command of the classroom space. I think that's nice. And you use humor to your advantage in order to do classroom management. That's nice. So you really got people involved. You really got everybody participating. And I thought you had a really good suggestion to change the PowerPoint, put the preposition before. That's right. Yeah, that makes sense. Great job. I thought you guys did a really good job. Okay. So, are we ready for the ones for today?
Hello, Miss Patty.
I gave her feedback yesterday. Yeah. Okay. All right. Who's going first?
Presentation.
She's excited.
Thank you. So it's 8:15, so you've got like till 8:45.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, you can see my name over here. All right, my name is Hoài. Again, I have the foreign name from Dr. Lee. Okay, Betty. Today I'm going to show you. I will do exactly 15 minutes mini lesson. Right? That means I will teach you. I will pretend that you are my student. So the setting is, remember 2 days ago, Hannah showed you one lesson in Reflex 1000. Yesterday, Long showed us a lesson in Reflex 2000, and that means in 1000 and 2000, the student learned very basic things. Okay, how to make short sentences and then make them a little bit longer with by adding adverbs. Okay, so today I'm going to show you the idioms which appear in the book 4,000 reference. That means the children here have already learned the correct sentences, and they will add a little bit more conjunctions or preposition to make the long sentences with how, where, when, why, for. And also they have just learned present simple past simple tense. The setting is in SNA, that means schools of North America. The children are from, let me see, grade 9 to grade 11, usually when they learn with me. In the class, the class size is, there are about 7 to 15 children in a classroom, so it is quite easy for me to control them. And most of the time they listen to me, right? Because if they don't listen to me, I will send them out, and there will be a principal. No, I'm sorry, the pal. I mean the guy, the teacher who will show them the rule, the regulation of the school again, and if they don't obey, he will that student will have to clean the kitchen, do the kitchen duty. The students in my class are in their English development, English language development, that is ELD, and they study with me for 1 year or 2 years, and then they go to American program to study with the other children. And let me see, yeah, for one block, that means like in period, and for one block in SNA,